On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are reviewing Picard 2x03, Assimilation, right after these very important words from our very mysterious sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on the continuing Star Trek conversation the two lifelong friends have been having since they were itty-bitty. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson.
Dave, how you doing, bud?
I'm pretty good.
You better be good. This is one of the best mornings for Star Trek, I feel like, in 20 years. I mean, like, 2 episodes that are both really, really, really good. You know, we've had 3 weeks of overlap, and, you know, I've really been enjoying Picard, and Discovery's been pretty good, but, like, this week, both just kind of hit fully for me. Really, really liked them. So what do you think? Picard, episode 3, season 2, what'd you think?
Leah Thompson did a fantastic job of directing. Did you notice that was Leah Thompson directing?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, Back to the Future, man. Caroline in the City.
Yeah, I know Leah Thompson well. That's great. That's really cool. Yeah,
I think she did a fantastic job. Man, the freaking Borg Queen was amazing in this episode.
She was.
But Jurati was more amazing.
Man, I don't know, that line when the Borg Queen turned to her, "You've done something more difficult and dangerous than you can imagine," or something like that, and she says, "You've impressed me." Ooh.
Yeah. It's like whatever it was, like designate folder named "shit I stole from the Borg Queen."
And then it starts reading off the coordinates of the Watcher.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Really, really good.
I loved that they were just like, they just killed those Confederate soldiers, including Annika's husband.
Oh yeah, for sure. They didn't like, what a confusing moment for Annika's husband. Yeah, and I'm sure he just thought she was some sort of imposter. Clearly, he says, you know, and I guess she was. Name? Yeah, what's my full name? And then, bam, just kills him. And I liked that it was Raffi, like, rolled in front of her to save her life and shot him. There's a little bit of lover's triangle there.
I did not think they were going to do away with Elnor.
I definitely didn't either. As soon as it happened, I was like, shit, really? I thought for sure we were going to get... I mean, I guess it makes sense from a... not needing to cover his ears and ridges perspective as we go into 2024, but I just really thought we were going to get fish out of water Elnor wandering around 2024, being that, like, you know, Romulan eye view of our civilization, and it just I'm bummed out that we don't get that. You know,
I was actually pretty annoyed with Raffi for blaming Picard and saying you chose the Borg Queen over him. I was like, dude, do you not realize what you're doing there? I mean, that is what... You didn't exactly choose him.
Sure, but I will say, like, he kind of did. He did choose the Borg Queen over him. I'm not saying it's not the right decision necessarily. If the Borg Queen had died, it reduces their likelihood to be able to save the timeline. It reduces the likelihood, but it does not make it impossible. As we see, they're already starting to track the Watcher.
It does. Like, doesn't it make it impossible for them to even get home if the Borg Queen is dead?
But they could live out their life in 2024 with Elnor. You know what I mean? So then you're just talking about, can they get home and have Elnor? And, like, I think they'd all probably choose to keep Elnor alive, you know? Mm-hmm. Of course, if they can fix the timeline, does Elnor come back? And that's the question that Raffi asked Jurati, and I love that. I love that Jurati's like, I just don't know. I don't know if we're in a causal paradox or not, or like a causal loop yet. I don't know what's the deal. Like, there's all... I love that Jurati just in universe is like, I don't know, man. There's lots of types of time travel here.
We deal with lots of types of time travel on Star Trek. Sometimes it causes an alternate reality. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it branches. Sometimes it, just rewrites.
Sometimes there's consequences. Sometimes it's Voyager. It's just like a lot of things that you can do with time travel in Star Trek.
Yep.
Oh man, I thought this was a really, really cool, really, really fun episode. I loved every piece of the storyline. I liked, Cristobal has like connections to his roots already. He's one of the only people. I mean, he's living on a ship by himself. He has his holograms all speaking in Spanish. He like smoking these big cigars. Like he just has this connection to his like South American heritage, and to get to see him view our current world with the immigration issues we're having, and like get to see his take on that, and get to see him totally screw it up. Because he should have just run. The doctor was going to be fine. And he like charges back in like the hero, but he's just being a dumbass.
Yep.
I don't know if you're a hero or a dumbass. I forget what she actually says. Hero or stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought she said brave or stupid. But
oh yeah, right. Brave or stupid is right, not hero. That's what Seven gets called this episode. Are you a superhero? I loved that.
We keep my secret. It is super interesting that it is the same year as the Bell riots, where we saw Cisco pretend to be Bell in DS9 in San Francisco, the Bell riots, and 2 years out from the beginning of World War III canonically.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that soon to World War III.
Yeah, World War III starts in 2026, according to canon. And
that is super interesting.
I think it ends 2057. Anyway, it's also apparently somewhat linked to genetically engineering the human genome. So it is... Canonically, there is a reason that sometimes people refer to the eugenics wars as World War III as well, but they were two separate things.
Right. And in book canon, there's the eugenics wars is actually something that was like going on behind the scenes for a long time, right?
Right, which is something they had to kind of bring up. They're not getting that away with that one here.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we were talking about last week how Star Trek is supposed to be our future, but like,
right. Or at least believably our future.
This shit is fantasy.
Sure.
They gave dates.
Right. But now we know that Rick and Morty are Nexus beings that exist across all realities.
Well, that would make sense though, wouldn't it?
It does. It really does. That is such a funny, like meta joke that like Rick, who is in all realities, exists in this reality, even though we're literally talking about how does this reality relate to our own reality? And Rick is still there.
Yeah. I was thinking about it this week. I was like, canonically, there's no way that the Star Trek would ever be our future. So like, if I ever took over Star Trek, the first thing I would do is have them like go to a reality that is our reality in the future, and no one's ever heard of humans except for like one species of alien who was like, yeah, we used to probe them. They were weird. But yeah, they died out a long time ago. Your name's Kirk? Wait, you guys were like a TV show in this reality, and they just kept broadcasting it out to us.
Yet another reason it's good that you're not the lead of Star Trek.
Oh no, man, that would be great. Listen, one of the best things I ever saw in any version of anything was the last episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series, where there are a bunch of different Spider-Men from different realities that team up, and one Spider-Man just never fights. And then it turns out that he's the actor who plays Spider-Man. So the Spider-Man of the main cartoon takes him home and meets Stan Lee and has a conversation with him. Yeah. One of the best friggin' episodes.
Yeah, I remember that. And I'm not saying something meta like that can't be fun. I don't really want it. To me, it feels sort of like when you wake up and the whole thing's a dream. You know what I mean? Like it's the same kind of conceit. No. It's like, oh, this is all written, so let's have the last episode be, oh, let's talk to the writer. That's kind of fun for a comic book, and it is definitely like fun to like reference Stan Lee or whatever, and like give him the homage to him being the writer and all that stuff. Like I love that. But in this case, if they did that to the universe, our prime universe of Star Trek, I'd be pissed.
That was a real thing that they were talking about doing on DS9.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. No.
With Benny.
Right. Yeah. I do know that. And
I don't know how I would have felt.
Very glad they did not do that. I love the Benny stuff, but I love that for a minute, maybe it could be all in his head, but I don't. Yeah. I would never have wanted them to do that to Star Trek as a whole. And I do like the idea that Star Trek could be our future. Now, we are at a weird impasse where we are really getting up on, like, because it's time for World War III. So, like, I mean, things are up in the air. You could see it. But, like, our world is about to cross that Rubicon where it's like, okay, it didn't. The World War III didn't happen. The nuclear wars didn't happen. Hopefully. Please calm down, Putin. Right. But like, it's unlikely that it is likely that soon it will be completely impossible for you to headcanon anything that makes our world the same as Star Trek.
Right. Which is my point.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I really love the idea because it's the hopeful future. This is the hopeful future of now, Now, one of the things they might do here, what if they stop World War III here? You know what I mean? Like, what if that's part of this? What if they change the prime timeline to be a little different? What if this is why Discovery
looks different?
Yeah.
I'll take it. Give me that canon.
That would be fun for me because I think like you're not destroying the Star Trek timeline. You're changing it in some key ways where the old timeline exists, but now the new timeline, let's say they bring it in like where we know nothing about the next 100 years and Star Trek can now exist in our universe for the next 100 years without feeling needing to be reset or whatever.
I love the idea that everything did happen and had to happen for everything that is now happening now. Like I love that idea. So like everything is canon and nothing is canon, and I dig that. Like there's something weirdly comforting and freeing about that.
Yeah, you can have a new universe. I mean, it's the Kelvin timeline thing where like this universe can be totally new, but also, I mean, it's weird though. Like these are the head of this is who did the Kelvin timeline, right? Like
kind of.
Sort of. I don't know.
Kurtzman was a writer. Yeah.
Right. He was one of the writers on the Kelvin timeline. And now he's the showrunner of these shows. Not the showrunner, but is he the showrunner of Picard?
No, he's Terry Matalas, who did 12 Monkeys.
The TV show or the movie?
The TV show.
Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
I believe.
Gotta be. The guy who did the movie's gotta be on up there now.
Yeah. So he was the showrunner for that. He's the showrunner here, taking over for Michael Chabon. But Kurtzman is in charge of the franchise.
Man, now you got me cooking in my brain because you just made me realize that this story we're talking about all this alternate timeline. How do you change the future? Can you change the future? Will we change the future? All this stuff. And we're talking about a guy who directed or was the showrunner for 12 Monkeys. Like I hadn't made that connection before. I never saw the show. I think when we talked about that in a previous episode, I was just like, oh, I saw an episode, but I never followed through. But now that I'm thinking about it, like that's absolutely germane to the plot here. The plot of the original 12 Monkeys, at least. I never saw
the show. Yeah.
I'm assuming, as I've said many times, the thing with time travel is the whole you can't change the future bit only works once. It's really hard to do a second time travel movie in a future where you can't change anything. And I like they called it out here. We're kind of getting real meta on this, and I think there's a lot to just talk about in this episode. But like, that is exciting to me that
I don't apologize for being who we are.
True.
This is our shit.
It is our shit. This is our shit. Talking about whether they can or could or would change the timeline. They've already done it with the Kelvin timeline. So what if this is all part of that? And like everything from the differences in Strange New Worlds to Discovery to everything is part of that. And we just didn't know it until now. And like, just like Spock left that timeline and traveled to a new timeline. In the Kelvin verse, we get a Picard, a synthetic version of Picard, who had his final adventure in the prime timeline and then did this to jump back. Yeah. It's also, I can't help but mention First Contact watching this episode. It's Picard going back in time to the 2000s or 2100s or whatever. 2000s
is 21st century. It was 2024 is where he came this time.
Yeah. With the Borg.
Yeah.
And this time with the Borg Queen again. It's just very interesting. It's interesting that they did that again. Like I've been really thinking like this feels a little too much like First Contact.
I didn't think it felt very much like First Contact. It really did feel like Voyage Home or
Agreed.
That whatever, I can't remember, future tense or whatever it was called on Voyager. Rios meets the nice girl.
Of course, which actually that reminded me of freaking
Edith Keeler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, it really reminded me of Edith Keeler. I was like, oh gosh, she's like, she's gonna die. She's gonna die or be an ancestor. Like that's the.
Ooh.
Nothing romantic happened.
I know.
You just kidding.
But I was already kind of shipping them in my head, and when you said it, I was like, oh.
You're like, all these visions I've been having were wrong.
All like these fantasies.
Not inaccurate, but morally wrong.
Yeah. This is like 15th great grandmother or something.
Yeah. Could be. It could be.
Of course, nothing will ever top Trials and Tribulations with Bashir in the turbo lift talking. Is like, wait a minute, no one knew my grandfather. My great grandfather.
What if I'm supposed to be my own great grandfather?
He's like, Julian. All right, Chief.
So
but when you get back to the future and I don't exist. Just like the little smile on O'Brien's face.
Yep. It's really good.
Really God.
Good. So, I enjoyed all the Rio stuff and him getting to like connect with people from our time or close to our time. And but the Assimilation plot line. I mean, this episode's called Assimilation.
Dude, Alison Pill killed it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Whoever conceived of that scene, like the idea that you're listening to someone speaking from their subconscious as they're being assimilated. That's so terrifying and fun and like just an interesting view of that, you know?
Yeah. They did such a good job and managed to like, strike, a blow across the bow, as it were, with Picard and his arc this season. With her being like, you pretentious old prick, like shutting people out and stuff. And she's like, "Whoop, different room."
Yeah, that room. She's harboring some feelings.
Yeah, man.
Like she thinks of him as a father, but also, like many of us think about our fathers, a pretentious old prick.
Yeah, who you want to disobey.
Yeah, I sort of want to disobey you just for fun.
Yeah.
I liked that what led to her like kind of giving into the assimilation was the sadness room, as it were.
Yeah.
As she described it. That was really affecting. Like, yeah, it's good, man.
And effective to put into perspective exactly the kind of person or entity the Borg Queen really is. Like, because she doesn't begin the true assimilation. She's just an observer until she gets to that sadness room, and that's where she starts to take over because she like uses that sadness room to like
break your will
and make you, because Jurati's talking about like, I just want to sleep to death. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, it's very powerful.
It's clear that that's a way, we've always looked at the Borg as this sort of sad, it's very sad to be a Borg. And now we hear from the eyes of Jurati, like what it is to be taken over and like how the Borg Queen convinces her to give up. And it's just so sad. So it's like finds her saddest point and makes her like sort of perseverate there until she like, comes to like, I give up, you can have me. And it's just, woo, that was rough. Another thing about the Borg Queen that I found interesting was her thing about, she says something, I long for a chorus of thoughts to drown out this gnawing silence.
Yes.
I know that's sort of the whole idea of every Borg. Once they're part of the collective, they long for the chorus of voices. But it kind of gave me this idea that like maybe the Borg Queen herself, this sort of malevolent force that we've watched in all these different shows, is just sort of like a lonely person. It reminded me of every, I don't know if you have this, but I definitely have this inside, and I think a lot of us do. There's like, you don't want to, there are times in your life when you're sad or depressed where you just don't want to be alone. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to let the sadness in, so you kind of spin up whatever you got to do to keep some sort of input in your face. Watching TV, listening to the podcast, keep something going all the time, so that you don't have to, don't have to feel, as it were.
I usually embrace the sadness. Weirdly, like sometimes I just know that sometimes I have ADHD, and I get the feeling of like I need voices, I need things to drown out the gnawing silence. I get that part of it, but like I need to multitask or something. Right. But then like a good example, like my wife was out of town for 10 days straight, like in a row, and I was home alone, and I just like at some point I just found myself weird, and I never eat at the table, but I was just eating soup at the table, staring at the table like an old person staring out the window or something. And I was just like incredibly sad and just like not watching anything, just like sitting there staring at a table eating soup, man. And I realized tears were in my eyes, and I was like, dude, what am I doing? I got to snap out of this shit. But sometimes I just like let it take me for a while, because it's like, it's good to feel those feelings. Like, I don't think it's good to keep numbing ourselves with all this bullshit.
I agree completely. It's great to feel your feelings and to know, we talked about it in the last episode, to know thyself, to know the depths of your feelings and what they lead you to, and the conclusions you find, and even just who you are. Like, it's great to do those things, but oftentimes we don't. Oftentimes we will bury ourselves in something else, activity, whatever, just to not think. And it just, that reminded me of that line about her wanting to drown the chorus of the gnawing silence. It's like, what is the Borg Queen scared of silence? Why is the Borg Queen scared of silence?
Yeah.
Does she have that same sort of predilection that we all do? And is that part of the voracious desire for, more input, more assimilation?
I related more to the Borg Queen there than I wanted to, for sure.
Yeah, and that's, we talked about a couple episodes ago. Oh, actually, no, I don't think we did. I think I had this thought, and then I didn't get a chance to talk about it.
You didn't get a chance.
Oh, I think it was after we had recorded.
Okay. Don't say it like I didn't let you speak, as I'm not letting you speak.
Yeah, exactly.
As I'm currently interrupting.
We know that Q's in trouble.
Okay.
Some kind of trouble. He seems like he is hurting. He seems like something is wrong with him. They kind of mentioned that. And then Q comes back to Picard for one last trial, right? Like this big trial.
A penance, yeah.
Yeah, well, he says that. But what if Q needs Picard? This is a theory, total theory. What if Q needs Picard in one last twist of Qdom, right? What if the continuum has put Picard in judgment of Q, right? And in some way, what if we've seen other seasons of Voyager where like Picard was sort of on the outs with the continuum. I think even in Next Generation.
Yeah, he has been on the outs since that time. Yeah.
So what if it is Picard? Like, he's been torturing Picard, or trialing Picard all these years, and now it's Picard's turn to choose whether to have empathy for him. Does that make sense? And as a way of preparing Picard to see if he can even have empathy for one of his greatest nemesis, he sends him through this adventure where he has the only way to achieve victory is to sort of really forgive and have empathy for the Borg.
That's interesting, man. You've done it again. You have written a better show than they will actually make.
I don't know. I just started thinking about like how he needs something. He clearly is coming to Picard in this moment. He needs something from Picard or something. He needs something from someone. And if it's Picard, and then he sends him on this very specific adventure with one of his greatest enemies. And we know from the Flash, the moment in the future that he's got a chance to make peace with that Borg Queen, possibly. And maybe even the Borg Queen has a chance to make peace with him. Maybe this isn't just for Picard, but also the Borg Queen to like learn about humanity and learn about them as individuals and start to value their individual nature. I don't know. I just started thinking about it. I was like, man, how, and this is still, this is just came right now, but what if what's wrong with Q is that he's, being assimilated? That's just a random thought.
Yeah, and you lost me.
Yeah, no.
You did it, and then you lost me.
I like the other thing better. But like, then I started thinking about what if instead he's trying to teach the Queen the lesson so that she will stop assimilating him.
No.
I kind of like it.
I say thee nay.
I do think the other thing is cool. I like the idea that he's trying to like test Picard to see if there's hope for him, if Picard really has the empathy, which is always kind of one of the things he's trialing Picard for, is like, do you have the actual empathy for these creatures on Farpoint to like make the decision to like care about the thing that is so different from you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would be a really cool end to the arc of Picard and Q.
Yeah.
Reverse the roles.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I like the idea, though.
Thanks. I just thought of it the other day, and I was like, man, should have talked about that on the show. Yeah. Now was my chance.
There are usually about 10 to 15 things that I think of after we record that I'm like, damn it.
Same.
Yeah. By the way, I was wrong. Past tense is the name of the episode with Cisco pretending to be Bell.
Okay.
Cool. The Voyager episode was called Future's End.
Future's End and past tense. Yeah. Gotcha.
But the homeless camp in this episode had a sign that said Sanctuary District, just like the one in past tense where the Bell riots were going on.
Wow. Okay, man. They're definitely, I mean, that's amazing. They're definitely drawing that connection.
They are sliding that dick onto the table. I don't know what that means.
I was just ignoring it.
I just said it, and then I realized it made sense in my head, and then like I realized once I said it, it was like, no, what does that mean? It's like, are you presenting it? Okay, I don't know. Onto a bed of chives.
In this episode, we have Rios, who's at the clinic. He says, as he's like about to walk in there, he's like, butterflies, and then he runs back in. He like, damn butterflies, and then he runs back in to help the doctor, he thinks. But like, that absolutely could be part of it. Like he is possibly entering that very culture that you're talking about with the sanctuary districts and everything. Man, and it, we literally have a thing that is in today's politics they call sanctuary cities. It just is very interesting that they're sort of combining all of that with immigration issues, sanctuary cities, possibly sanctuary districts, and that's all combining to the story. Like I did not expect that from this story at all.
Yeah, they're tackling some stuff that we're dealing with these days.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, as Star Trek should.
I wonder who Stacey Abrams will play this week.
Herself.
We see like the president's great ancestor.
Great grandcestor? Is that what you said?
I didn't, but I should have. All right. Well, any other things we missed in this Picard episode?
The coordinates that the Watcher is at, is Pershing Square in downtown Los Angeles, which is 1.5 miles away from MacArthur Park, which is where Rafi got that blip on her tricorder for the alien signal.
Okay. Cool.
So that was kind of cool.
Very, yeah. I wonder if they, something you always hear from like podcasters who live out in LA is how bonkers TV and movies treat LA geography. Mm-hmm. Like you'll see in a movie, I want to say Terminator is one of them, where like Terminator is chasing down Sarah Connor and like he's running through one park and then they cut literally like she runs around a corner and she's just on a different part of the city. That's like any LA person would recognize like, what is happening here? Like this isn't that's not even the same park at all. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if they'll try to do better with this than
movie magic.
Movie magic.
I did like when we were talking about going back to are they going to rewrite canon here? Thinking about Elnor's medallion that says now is the only moment. It could just be like the most poetic way to say screw you and your canon.
Yeah.
Like whatever we're showing you is the only thing that's canon at the moment.
Indeed. I loved that. I loved the now is the only moment thing.
I did too.
When I was writing the Star Trek albums, I wrote that song All We Have Is Now, which is based on Generations, which has the very same message from Kirk's perspective, living in the past, living in the future. Those things lead to your own downfall. You got to live in the moment.
Time is the fire in which we burn.
That's right.
And it was even more poignant because he said burn and fire.
Mm-hmm. It was. Wasn't it right after he finds out too?
Yeah.
About his family. He walks out there and then Soren's like, time is the fire in which we all burn. Mm-hmm. Hey, why not? Since we're at the end of this episode, I'm going to put that song at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for your excitement for me. Thanks for your support, Dave. Yeah. I got
whatever.
For those of you who are new to the podcast, I've got 2 Star Trek albums that I wrote a few 2 years ago when Picard was coming on, and I did them here on the show. But I don't think I really ever dropped many of the fully produced tracks. I dropped like you
didn't.
It was the demos that I put here on the podcast,
right?
Yeah, they're all on Spotify and Apple and stuff now under the band name The Garage, and it's called Left to Burn. No, it's not. It's called Earl Grey Hot and Save Each Other. Those are the 2 album names.
What are you referring to? There was something you made that was called Left to Burn or something.
Oh, Left to Burn's my solo album. And that's another album you can find. Matthew Carroll, Left to Burn.
Yeah, that's right. I have that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you did so much in like a short amount of time. I just got I'm like, yeah, that's right. Wait, no.
Yeah, no, I did. Well, we were talking about the burn thing from Soren, and I was like, and that song, that is the chorus of the song. Some say time is the fire in which we all burn. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed this episode a lot. I love that cover of California Dreamin'.
Oh yeah, that was real cool. I liked the modern cover of that classic LA song,
Mm-hmm. I dug that. And it was just really nice to cut from the normal music of Star Trek into that to bring us into the past. I dug that. But oh my God, when the dude, I laughed so hard when the ship rocked and the freaking Borg Queen just tumbled over face first.
Oh, I laughed too.
That shit was funny.
Yeah, it really was. What do you want? Legs for start.
But when Gerard, she's crawling out of the rubble and Girardi's afraid of her. Mm-hmm. I was really happy because they went back to that amazing First Contact Borg music, that Borg theme that Goldsmith did. That bloom, 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 bloom.
Very cool. I didn't catch that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I notice stupid shit like that and go, it's a musical cue.
No, that's great, man. I am bad at that. If it's not like every once in a while I'll be like, oh, I know that from somewhere, but I never catch where they're from. Very rarely.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't really have much else. I was touched by Seven saying most strangers don't like me.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what they're doing with her character, because Raffi says the thing. Yeah, she says that. She says most strangers don't like me. She also has the like, I think they're just playing with the idea that she's used to having the Borg implants and people being scared of her, like off the top of, and she sort of blames herself for that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but, I think probably there's a little bit of internal, like, people don't like me, therefore it's my fault. And now she's realizing that, like, she's actually like a kind, good person, and these people don't like her because of prejudice. Yeah, that goes very much well with what she was talking about in the very first episode. And so, like, it's interesting to see her here without the Borg implants in 2024, and she's just like, you know, a normal, kind person walking around the streets, and you're like, oh. Annika Hansen's actually like someone that people would like. It's the Borg's fault, you know? It's like the Borg's fault, and then people's prejudice about her ex-Borg status, you know? I like it.
I liked the episode.
Me too. I can't wait to see next week's. We got we're down to 1 week. 1 a week now this week, though. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, as much as I love them to watch them and podcast them and try to get them out quickly is a little it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a little hitch in my get along, man.
I hear you.
I was worn out.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I'll as I said, I'll leave the show with this song is called "All We Have Is Now" by The Garage that I wrote a couple years ago when we were getting ready for Picard. It's about the generations, Star Trek Generations. Jolan True.
Live long and prosper.
There was a man who planned to live forever. He'd give anything to cease the march of time. Searched his whole life for a moment he'd already lost, so he lost so much more. Some say time is the fire in which we all burn, but I know time is the fire that burns within me. What makes a moment worth holding on to is that you can't. Love and joy can be ever fleeting, and your happiest days can seem dead and gone. But if you hold too tight, you'll miss them next time they come. I've known loss, that's the cost of being open-hearted. And there are days to which I would return. Oh, but a life without pain is a life without joy. It's just a dream. Some say time is the fire in which we all burn, but I know time is the fire that burns within me. What makes a moment worth holding on to is that you can't. Love and joy can be ever fleeting, and your happiest days can seem dead and gone. But if you hold too tight, you'll miss them next time they come. is now. This is the moment that we know a thing about. The past is just dreams and pictures in our mind that we cherish over time, but it's gone, and you can't get it back. All we have is now. Let tomorrow worry for itself. Just live each day and seize them as they come, and be just who you want to be. For tomorrow's uncertain. All we have is now.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.